ברוכים הבאים לביג סקרין כשר, הפודקאסט מספר 1 על פוטבול אמריקאי בישראל. אני יעקב המר יחד עם השותף שלי אורן גרינמן, ואנחנו כאן כדי לעדכן אתכם בכל מה שצריך לדעת על עולם הפוטבול. במהלך העונה אנחנו מביאים לכם פרטי הקדמה לכל שבוע עם ניתוחים מעמיקים, בחירות למשחקים וקצת הימורים למי שרוצה להוסיף קצת אקשן לצפייה. בנוסף, לא נשכח את פרקי הפנטסי פוטבול שבהם תקבלו מאיתנו את כל הכלים לנצח את הליגות שלכם. ובמיוחד נקיים פרק לייב בנושא פנטסי פוטבול בכל יום חמישי בערב ביוטיוב. אז אם אתם אוהבים פוטבול, פנטסי והימורים, אתם במקום הנכון. יירשמו לערוץ היוטיוב שלנו, עקבו אחרינו בטוויטר, ואל תשכחו להאזין לנו בספוטיפיי כדי להישאר תמיד מעודכנים ולהצטרף לקהילת הפוטבול הכי חמה בארץ. מה קורה חברים? ברוכים הבאים לפרק של ביג סקרין כשר, פודקאסט פוטבול מספר 1 בישראל. תודה רבה שהצטרפתם אלינו היום. היום יש לנו אורח מאוד מיוחד שיצא לי עכשיו לראיין. בחור בשם סאלץ. סאלץ הוא בחור שגדל בארצות הברית ולכן גם הראיון באנגלית, אז אני מצטער אם אתם פחות מבינים אנגלית, למרות שאתם אוהדי פוטבול, אז אין סיבה שאתם לא תדעו אנגלית. אז באמת סאלץ, כמו שאמרתי, הוא גדל בארצות הברית בעולם הדתי, היהודי דתי, לא שיחק פוטבול בחיים שלו, ואני לא אחשוף יותר מדי, כי אני רוצה שאתם תאזינו לפרק. לא שיחק פוטבול בחיים שלו בצורה מאורגנת, אפילו לא כמו שיש לנו בישראל, ויום אחד פשוט נהיה לו חלום פתאום להיות שחקן פוטבול בקולג' פוטבול, ובסוף הסיפור הוא הגיע להיות במשחק, כאילו הוא שחקן בטקסס A&M פוטבול, שזה אחד הקולג'ים הכי טובים בארצות הברית לפוטבול. הם מייצרים שם כמות מטורפת של שחקני NFL, וסוף הסיפור זה שהוא שיחק במשחק לפני שבוע. זה סוף הסיפור, אבל כל שבוע הוא מתלבש והוא מתאמן עם הקבוצה. באמת סיפור מטורף. ואפילו יצא לי לדבר איתו על שחקני NFL שהולכים להיות ב-NFL, שתי שחקנים במיוחד, ניק סקורטן ושמר סטוארט. למי שלא יודע, ניק סקורטן הולך להיות טופ 10 בדראפט הקרוב, ושמר סטוארט הולך להיות טופ 20-25, תלוי מי אתם שואלים, אבל שתי שחקנים שבוודאות הולכים להשפיע על עולם ה-NFL, שחקנים עם כישרון מטורף. שאלתי אותו על הקשר האישי שלו איתם, שאלתי אותו על מה הוא לומד מהם בעולם הפוטבול, למרות שהוא בהתקפה והם בהגנה. גם ניסיתי לשאול אותו קצת על פנטסי, אם יש לו איזה סליפרים לחברי הפודקאסט שהם אוהדי פנטסי, אם יש לו סליפרים שהוא יכול לחשוף, או אנשים שהוא חושב שהם יהיו כוכבים ב-NFL. תשובה שלא כל כך אהבתי, אבל בקיצור לא היה לו, אבל ניסיתי לשאול אותו כזה, לקבל הסתכלות קדימה בעולם הפנטסי. אז זה לא יצא, אבל באמת אחלה סיפורים, סיפור אישי מטורף, בן אדם עם ראש על הכתפיים. אני חושב שאפשר ללמוד ממנו הרבה, וזה פשוט מטורף שהוא משחק פוטבול בטקסס A&M. אז תהנו מהפרק, ולא לשכוח כמובן לעשות לייק לפודקאסט אם אתם חדשים, במיוחד לייק לעמוד יוטיוב, לסרטון של היוטיוב, או לעשות עוקב בספוטיפיי, עוקב בטוויטר, כושר פיקסקן שיופיע פה למעלה. אז תודה רבה שאתם פה ותהנו מהפרק. Hey man, how's it going?
Thank God, how are you?
Great, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know you have a very intense schedule. Also the football side of things, and then you're also a student, and I know what it's like to be a student, so I really appreciate your time speaking to me, to the football community in Israel. I assume it's something that you found to be important to do, and I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure.
So tell us, I want to hear like a little bit about your upbringing, where you grew up. We'll get into the football soon, or it might come up in your background, but just tell us where you're from, how you got to here.
I'm from Philadelphia originally.
Okay.
So it's
that's far. You're far from home.
Yeah, I am quite far from home. So, but Baruch Hashem, it's good. It's good. I'm out here. It's very, very different from Philadelphia, but hopefully, God brought me out here.
Right. So. I know you're. Wait, so you grew up in a Jewish background, in a religious background?
Yeah. I grew up in Center City, Philadelphia, and I grew up. My mom's bought teshuva. So
okay.
That was my. I wasn't. I went to day schools my entire life.
Okay. All right. Cool. And so you're now in Texas A&M college football. However, we're mostly focused on NFL, just because how nature is in Israel. Just NFL is bigger. Football in general isn't that big in Israel, so we're going to tend to follow the bigger sport, which is the NFL. But there are a lot of college football fans in Israel, despite that. And basically, so right now you're in College Station.
Yeah.
Right. So College Station, I always found as like just that name alone tells you how crazy the city probably is around Texas A&M Aggies football. Is that am I hitting it?
Yeah, you're hitting it on
that.
It is.
Yeah,
it is the blood of the community.
Yeah, I've never been to a college game because of Shabbat, and I've been to many NFL games, and one of my dreams has always been to go to a college game. Like us in Europe and Israel, the fans are absolutely bonkers over soccer or basketball, whatever it is. I think European fans have that that thing about them, but they say college football fans are like the closest thing to that.
Yeah. That I mean, realistically, I've never been to one of those games, so I can't really say what it's like to be in a European game.
Yeah.
Sport and European background, but I don't think there's really anything that somebody, especially in a place like College Station, Texas A&M, where the stadium sits like 105,000 people. I don't. It's a little bit beyond comprehension. Sometimes.
That's crazy. So what was like the motivation that stood behind? I know that you never played, which is just crazy within itself. You never played organized football in your life until 2 weeks ago, actually. We'll get to that soon. From what I was told, I could be wrong, but which is just crazy. So what was like? What did you always have that dream of like putting on pads, putting on a helmet, and playing, or did this just like start while you were in college?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it kind of started a long time ago when I was a kid. When I do speaking engagements. So when I come out to speak, I always talk about this, but it's not really a natural thing that I got into football at all, because when I was a kid, it wasn't really something that was really emphasized at all. College football definitely wasn't emphasized. I mean, I grew up in Philadelphia, so the Eagles, whenever the Eagles were doing good was the main, emphasis of football in my life, but that wasn't like a big thing in my family. Well, that much. At least in like my immediate family. Like the broader family, they were bigger fans and stuff like that. But it wasn't something that like I grew up doing. But we played on the playground and whatever it was.
Definitely not college football.
Yeah. I mean, there was some point in my life. I can't pinpoint exactly, but I say somewhere between when I was 10 and like 12, I think, where something hit me, and I said, like, I had like this thought that, like, my life wouldn't have been complete if I hadn't played college football.
That's crazy.
Which, again, is weird, but that's why when I talk about it, I say, listen, like, you never know why you have certain thoughts that come to your mind. Why you have certain desires or your dreams. Sometimes some people are raised with them, but for someone like me, that kind of came out of nowhere. And when I go into why it happened, as Jews, but especially in terms of like what we do, we're always taught to question everything, but on top of that, find the reason for why things happen. And through my journey of walking on at A&M, I kind of realized why I had that strong-held belief, and that was because there was something that I was supposed to accomplish with it. And I mean, in my mind, as I was going through on my journey, making an attempt at doing something that has not really been commonly done, especially from like my background and experience in football, I began to realize that in doing so, I would be in the spot to inspire people, which I found at least at this point in my life, is my purpose. Where because there was a time I was working in sales, trying to make money for college, and I kind of sat there and I was like, I sat in the training and I sat in the sales psychology classes. And I was like, what? I don't think I can really do this. I can't. It just feels like kind of like dead for me in a sense. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I can live a life where I do this. I have to do something that I believe is meaningful and brings meaningful to people. And listen, I'm not knocking that at all. I think sales is a great career. And there are definitely aspects of it I enjoy, especially because of my background. But when I was sitting there, I was like,
is that what you're currently studying? Business like sales?
No, I'm studying
economics. Okay.
Economics.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like, trust me, I think sales is a great field.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong at all. It's just I was sitting there in that specific class. I said I can't do this.
Not everything is for everyone. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, I said like I can't.
Not a lot of people can put pads on and step onto a Texas A&M football game.
Yeah. And at least on that level, I said, I need to find something that I find meaning in life. That's more than just making a buck, right, whatever it is. And, at that time I was going through my journey. So, the sales was, additional because, again, I needed money to pay for school to be able to play football at this point.
Yeah. So, after reading a lot about you, over the last week, since we kind of set this up, so first of all, I'm a believer. I'm a strong believer in Hashem. And, I could be wrong, but from what I see is that your impact off the field, in the locker room, in practice, is much stronger than on game day to the people around you. And you spoke about that you had. I think it's incredible because most people I think in the world have a dream that they kind of like build for many years, and you just had that in a spark. And who knows? We're not questioning God what His plans are, but it sounds like maybe if you impacted one player in the locker room, that you were sent just for that. And if you can share with us a story, I mean, I'm sure, like, first of all, I know that you wear your tzitzit out when you're wearing pads, and I'm sure they've never seen that before. Most of the people in the locker room, if you can share,
I talk. I do. I talk.
Okay, but they've seen it. They've seen it in the locker room.
Yeah.
So, even in the Israeli army, in the Israeli military, the religious guys come and serve with the non-religious guys, and a lot of the non-religious guys have never seen or even gotten the opportunity to ask what these tzitzit are. So I'm sure if that happens, then in College Station, no question that happens. If you can share a story where you really felt like maybe this is why I was sent here, or the interaction you've had with other players over Judaism or over their culture.
That's a really good question. I've had many interactions with my teammates. I mean, I've had, many meaningful interactions with my teammates. Especially one-on-one, because some of them are very kind, and they've given me rides back to my car or home when I needed. So we've had a one-on-one time, and anytime I could drop anything, any sort of advice at least that I can give, or wisdom, or something from the Torah that I always cherish getting to do that. Yeah, I mean, there are some times, sometimes for me, it's something that I've been working on it, but I cherish kind of being the light, or at least trying to be the light. It's not something I would say I'm necessarily perfect at, but it's something that I definitely have found a lot of fulfillment in. And even if it's not everybody, if it's one player, whatever it is, I'm thankful that I have that.
Yeah.
That I can go give over. I mean, there's been a bunch of players, even with staff. When there was a Jewish member on our staff under the last head coach. And I actually put on to fill in with him almost every day, since I had made the team. And that was. I mean, I would say that was also definitely something that was very, very, very impactful.
Was that the first time you put on fill in?
I don't know if it was the first time,
right?
But we would do it. We would do it together.
Amazing.
Almost every day before practice,
unbelievable.
After practice. I'd come up and give a Torah class or whatever it was, and it was just thank God, beautiful relationship came forward from that.
So I'm going to take things a little bit back. Correct me if I'm wrong, okay? So like I said earlier, you've never played organized football, and then you got to Texas A&M. I'm cutting things short, obviously. There's a lot probably in between, but basically you started practicing on a different field, not where the team practices, and you went over to coach Jimbo Fisher, who's one of the best coaches in college football that I can remember in the last 10 years at least. And you said to him, "I'm going to make it on your team." And at the end of the day, you know, he came over to you, and I think it was from him. I don't know, that could be your story, but basically, I guess you could tell us who the coach was that told you that you made the team, and how that felt. What was that like interaction like?
That was very interesting. So I would train outside of the A&M facility every day, you know, aside from Shabbat,
Yeah.
figuratively speaking.
During their practice times.
I ended up figuring out when their practice times were, because I would show up at different times during the day, and I would start figuring out when stuff was happening. But yeah, I began to practice there, and you know, I always made sure to try to be there before they were out there, and then be the last one out after they left.
Right.
And when I met the head coach was at his radio show, which was actually even before I started practicing on that field. I met him at his radio show because I had wanted to go watch a tryout. Because I knew, I would inevitably I've actually never had a tryout, at least on the formal level. But I figured I was going to have to try out, so I wanted to go watch a tryout, and nobody in the building or that I was contacting was really giving me any info or, you know, saying yes. So I decided to just go to the head coach himself, who gave a weekly radio show at a random restaurant in town. And when I came, you know, I had him sign something. I had him sign some things for me. Amongst those things were my yarmulke and a piece of paper that had my goals on it. But when I also, you know, I looked him in the eyes and I told him, you know, my name is Sam Sales. I'm going to walk onto the team. And that was my first, you know, encounter with him.
Wow.
At the time. And that was about 11 months before I got the text. So that encounter was, I want to say, was today the 20th. So it was a week ago this week. 2 years ago? Summer seems 3 years. It might be 3 years ago.
Wow.
Because it was in 2021. So yes, it was a week. It was a week. 3 weeks from last. 3 years from last week was when it happened. Ironically, that was also, you know, last week was the first snap I ever had in football.
Yeah, we'll get to that soon. So the text you got was from Jimbo, Coach Fisher himself.
No, the text was from Mark Robinson, who was the Jewish guy. Actually,
Okay.
I found it later. I ended up putting on film with him.
All right, amazing.
I got the initial.
Yeah. So do you play on Shabbat? Because you might know better than me, like halakhically, if it's like if you can just like walk to the stadium and play football, or even suit up.
Yeah, no. So I don't. I take every stringency that I can.
Wow.
Especially when it comes to Shabbat, because it's very important. It's incredibly. It's just one of the most important things that we definitely have, especially as Jews. It's a holy day. It's, you know, it's a day to be with God. Yeah. It's a day to abstain from work.
I always look at Shabbat as taking one step backward in order to take 2 steps forward into the following week.
Yeah.
Like that's how I see Shabbat.
Yeah. So Shabbat's a beautiful thing. And you know, there is a concept called the spirit of Shabbat, which, like, you know, some things theoretically could be allowed, but on a highly theoretical level. And when it comes down to football, none of those things actually end up coming to fruition. I think maybe in some sports you can make the arguments that, you know, well, depending on what your denomination, who your Rav is, because, you know, I think there might even be an Ashkenazi Sephardi split on whether touching a ball on Shabbat is mutter or not permitted. I'm not entirely. I heard that somewhere, so I don't quote me on it, but I think there might be a difference in what's considered permitted on Shabbat or not. But ultimately, on the other levels, like football, being the nature of the sport, there's just no way that you can play it on Shabbat, and also fulfill the spirit of Shabbat. And, you know, there's other things when it comes down. I mean, the laws of Shabbat.
Well, that ties into your jersey number. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's funny, when I was thinking about, you know, even before I made the team, I was like thinking about what jersey number I was going to do, because, you know, visualization and believing that you've already made it are very important to success.
I'm sure you thought about 18 also, right? Like Omri Taspi and.
So yeah, it's funny. I always wanted it to be 39.
Okay.
I always wanted 39, and people didn't like. Some people that I didn't tell many, but some people that I was close with, I was like, no, you got to like like a typical like Jewish number, like an 18 or a multiple of chai or whatever it was. And I was like, I don't know, like I think 39 is like I like 39. It's unique and it emphasizes me, like it emphasizes someone who won't play on Shabbat.
Wait, so 39 just because we have a lot of non-religious people that listen to the podcast.
Oh yeah, sorry. So 39 is the categories of work that you can't do on Shabbat, and they are based off of the building of the tabernacle, which was the precursor to the temples, which was where all the work towards God or any sacrifices were done pre the temples being built. So I chose 39 because it was a symbol of my commitment to God, a symbol of my commitment to Judaism and to Shabbat. So when we got in there, they're asking me, I'm asking, what numbers are available, and obviously, 18 and whatever is taken. It was never meant to be my number. I don't think I didn't want it that way, but what was open, especially on offense, it was open. 39 was open, and I said, you know what, that's the number. That's the one I've been thinking of, and that's what's.
Wow, incredible. So there's no, for me at least, hearing about you and reading your story, I couldn't stop thinking about Rudy. Obviously, the way you got there and the way he got there and the outcome is different. But I just couldn't stop thinking about Rudy, which is an amazing movie, one of my favorite football movies. And I feel like you had that Rudy experience 2 weeks ago or a week ago, like you said. Share with us like what that feeling was, like how did that happen?
So it's funny, to this day I still haven't seen it. Everybody tells me to watch it when the New York Times.
Maybe you should never watch it.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I've seen clips on TikTok. So it was funny because it was that week and it was senior night, and something in me felt, I was like, you know what, I'm going to play this week. I had a feeling that it was going to happen, and ironically, I was the part of what gave me that feeling was like randomly, I was started getting my entire TikTok was just clips and clips and clips of Rudy. So
that's hilarious.
Maybe it's
how the algorithm works is it beats me.
Yeah, no, it must have been like checking my brainwaves or something. But I said I had a feeling I was going to play. In fact, I was so sure of it that so there's 75 people on the travel squad. Yeah, there's 140 guys on the team, so I wasn't on the travel squad. But when it's a non-conference game, anybody can play. So even though I wasn't on the travel squad, I still had all my notes from the meetings and the plays, and so I did a walkthrough in the Chabad parking lot on my own. So I took my notebook with me, and I practiced the plays in my head and the play calls, and I practiced walking through them, as a receiver. And when we're getting out there, it's the fourth quarter of the game. It's the last minute. We scored a touchdown, and I'm like, I have faith. I'm gonna go in. There's like a minute left in the game, and I'm like, okay, maybe they'll give a 2-point attempt because you score, you get 2 points. You could put more receivers out there, but they gave a senior kicker his chance to kick a field goal, which he did. Really, really cool. And here it comes, and time is like 40 seconds left of the clock, and I'm like, I'm really thinking, I'm like, no, I know I'm going to play. I know I'm going to play. I know I'm going to play. And they're getting the guys ready for kickoff. Now, mind you, I wasn't on any kickoff depth.
You were purely a receiver on the team.
Yeah. So I hadn't even repped a rep of kickoff, I think, since maybe during the spring, but definitely under the last coach was the last time I for sure took a rep at kickoff. So I'm standing on the sideline, and they're about to get kickoff, and I hear my name, and it was it's my time, and it was really weirdly surreal because I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel surreal. I didn't feel nervous. I didn't feel whatever it was. I just felt like, oh, it's my time. And the wide receiver coach, who was calling my name, he brought me over to the huddle where they not the huddle,
the side huddle.
There's this mat with 10 dots on it, and that's where people stand, I guess, before they go in, or especially before kickoff. Special teams definitely get ready there because you have your core people who are going in. And I'm standing there, and I was told where to go, and I get out there, and I end up lining up. You know, I hadn't repped kickoff, and I just started running. The ball. The thing was, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I'm not going to be the schmuck to fall start.
That would be quite the route. That would be the Rudy.
I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait, like just till I see everybody else going.
Yeah.
Before I
like a millisecond after.
I know. Listen, when the kicker gets to 31, like you should be fine to go.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not taking any chance to get a flag called on this.
Your one opportunity. Yeah.
So you know, I lagged a little bit behind everybody else on that kickoff, but you know, I ended up getting down there and trying to get around. And like listen, I mean, it was not like the most glorious play. For those who've seen
what was it like going against these like 300-pound opponents?
Nothing crazy, because that's what I see every day.
Practice,
I think
what's that like in general? What's that like in general? I mean, you're Jewish, obviously. We're not going to assume that you're like. I've seen like the pictures of you. You're not like a massive guy. You're more like a small body receiver.
I mean, listen. When it comes down to it, like when you know the people that you're going against as a receiver, I think the most they're going to weigh might be like 220 pounds at least at this level. As far as I can think of it, I mean, I'm 220 might even be like an oversight, but it was, you know, I wasn't really used to getting, again, I hadn't had to get around or someone on kickoff in a while, or had, you know, when it was blocked. So, no, it is what the play. You know, I'm very, very grateful to have gone out there. It was an amazing experience. You know, and you know, like even though I wish I would have been a little bit better on the play. You know, I would have been a little bit more successful. Whatever.
There's always room to improve in football. Always, every play.
But there's room to improve, and here I was, you know, getting welcome to the game. Ironically, my first ever snap of football in practice was a kickoff.
Right.
Which is funny.
Right.
Probably 2 years prior was my first snap ever was on kick. Because I didn't know anything, so they're like, listen, you can't really screw this one up. So it was like I remember it to this day. It was like you're going to run down and fold at like I think the 35. You know, just going. That was what the call that first time 2 years ago was. So you know, this time I went in and I said, you know what, listen, I got welcome to the game. My dad told me that. He's like, listen, you got, you know, this was your welcome to the game. And
were any family members in the stands? They make it to the game?
Yeah. My dad was.
Amazing. He flew in from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So you know, I'm happy that I got to do it, and I think I was the first Orthodox Jew.
That's what I was gonna say exactly. Like you're the only religious, or like Orthodox Jewish person to ever do that. So it's pretty unbelievable.
And I'm very grateful because like at the end of the day, barring my feelings about how I could have been better on the play aside, somewhat the kids at least saw. The kids were able to see. And even for some of the older folks, who grew up, who wanted to play sports and who wanted to be, to play Division I sports, and who were, told that they weren't going to be able to. I hope that was a moment of joy, a moment of hope for them.
I mean, I'm very inspired just listening to these last 20 minutes. I have chills just like because that I really get that. I mean, like I said, Rudy was like one of my favorite movies, and I always got chills watching that at the end, and it really just hearing your story really reminds me of that. And maybe one day they'll do a movie about Sam Salt. That'll be pretty cool. Obviously, you don't need that, but that'll be cool. And I really believe that you're opening up a barrier, and just hearing that you're the first, thinking about that, you're the first religious Orthodox person to play in Division I. I mean, I don't know any division. I don't know if there's ever been a religious guy who's played any football, any college football. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's like totally. You're opening up a barrier that's giving an opportunity to a lot of religious Jews in America or even in Israel. And that's my next thing actually, is the Israel Football League. I don't know how much you're aware, but there's an Israel Football League. It's funded mostly by Robert Kraft, who owns the Patriots, and by Mark Wilf, who we had the opportunity to speak to on the podcast. He owns the Minnesota Vikings. Both amazing people. So they really push forward football in Israel, and we've had 2 Hall of Fame trips that Kraft has brought, and we've had the Patriots trip where all the Patriots came, and we had the Tom Brady trip in 2003. But what outcame of all this was the Israel national football team, who competes in Europe and the World Championships. Is that something that you've ever thought about, or did you even know that they existed?
Yeah, of course. I met the commissioner of the league
Okay.
in May. Sorry, in June. I met him in June. I met him, and actually, one of the guys who works for the league also works is a professor here at A&M.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah. So I definitely. I mean, like I think it's amazing. I think it's an amazing thing that that's been made. I'm glad it's coming there, and I'm glad again I'm glad that people are getting the chance overseas
Yeah,
to play a
100%.
sport, which I think might have some of the greatest heart, at least that I've
Yeah,
seen.
for sure, and we need it because we love it, and the NFL is growing in Europe, and that definitely brings the fans to want to play as well. Um, so I got okay. So there's two things I want to get a little bit more into the college football right now. So yesterday, I think it was last night, I was watching. I'm in America right now, so I get to watch ESPN. I love that. We don't have that in Israel. So I was watching. They had the college football playoff rankings. I know you may not be thinking about that too much because I know that your destiny is in your own hands. If you guys win, I'm pretty sure you guys are in the playoffs. Um, you guys are 20 now, ranked 20, and you're playing this week against Texas, who's ranked number 3. Again, the rankings don't mean anything to you because you need to win no matter what the ranking is. But what's the feeling? You guys are like, you have any predictions for the score? I know you think you're going to win, obviously. Give us like a score prediction or what. I mean, the environment's going to be probably like absolutely bonkers. I mean, Texas against Texas A&M.
So I mean, when it comes down to it, I don't really like to give sport predictions or really
Okay.
predictions of any of that when it comes down to it. I mean, it's just especially like coming out being a player. I just just kind of coming from the sense of like putting your head down and working and not really worrying
Wait,
about
what
that.
time? The game is in College Station, right?
It's in College Station.
Are
It's
you
at
going to
like
be able
six
to go?
thirty.
What time does Shabbat go out?
Yeah, I am. Shabbat ends at six o
Amazing.
two. So
The environment's going
yeah,
to be bonkers.
yeah. Already, I had a dream this afternoon about taking. I was taking. I got up early, so I was taking a nap. I did have already had a dream of running out of the
All
tunnel.
right.
So it was it's going to be
Wait,
an
you
amazing
run
environment.
out like dressed in this game or? Oh my, that's
Yeah,
amazing, man. That's going to be a crazy feeling.
yeah. So I mean, listen, it's something that I would just say I'm very privileged to even get to be a part of it because when I first was going to A&M, that was when there was a whole announcement that Texas and Oklahoma were moving to the SEC, and that our first matchup was going to be next year, which
Which is now,
which would have been
which is
hmm?
this year.
No, it would have been
Oh,
next
okay.
year. It would have been next year, but they moved up their leaving from the
Mm.
Big 12, and we ended up having the matchup earlier. And for it to be in College Station the first time, just for it's going to be, I mean, we're planning quite a large Shabbat here at Chabad, but it's gonna be a crazy
Yeah.
environment. I'm just very
This,
grateful
if you
that I get
guys
to be.
win this game, you go to the SEC championship. Am I correct?
I believe so.
Right. Amazing. Okay. And yeah. So good luck with that. That's gonna be it's gonna be quite the game to watch if you guys like college football. Um, and I gotta ask you about okay. So Texas A&M, obviously the SEC as a whole is probably is the best conference in football. They produce the most NFL players, at least in the last 10 years. And then there are two guys, as NFL fans over here, we're more focused on the mock drafts. So there are two guys who are predicted in pretty much every mock draft to go first round. One of them is going to go top 10 probably. We're talking about Nick Scorton and Shamar Stewart. What's it like, like on a personal level, like the interaction with them? What do you learn from them? And then what's it like just seeing them? I mean, you have the best seat in the house. What's it like seeing them do their perform on Saturdays?
Yeah, I mean, so it's really cool. Obviously, I mean, like they're great guys. Shamar I've known a little bit longer, just because I that's when he's been there. But Nick, he's a really nice guy. He's a really nice guy. I mean, they both been really nice guys, and Shamar even came to help set up for Shabbat.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, we were when Coach Elko first came in, like we had this thing introduced where like we could get points, we get extra points with the community service. So like on my team, Shamar was on my team, and I got a bunch of people. We came. They came and helped
That's
set
amazing.
up the Shabbat, and yeah.
So these are like relationships that you're gonna have, for the rest of your life. It sounds like.
Yeah, they're great guys. I mean, I'm very thankful for the people that I met in that locker room, because I know not every locker room has like the most amazing people, but I think we have a pretty good group of guys. Everyone that I've met have been very good.
And then when it comes to football, what's it like seeing them? Like, what do you maybe learn from them? I know you're in different positions, but what's like maybe the besides the football, what do you learn from them, and what's it like just watching them?
It's a good question. I mean, I like seeing people who like work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
These guys probably work like harder than anyone else.
Especially it's nice, especially when you see like talented guys who are who do extra. Yeah, I think that's an important thing to see, because not everyone who's talented is always going to put in extra work. Like so to see people who are talented, I think that's what I think produces greatness, is when you are talented, you still put in that extra effort. I mean, I remember I would see them after practice, working on the craft, sometimes even like teaching others, which was something that Anaya Smith, who's playing for the Eagles now, that's something that him and I used to do. Again, like after practice, we would work together. So it's something that I think is amazing to see, especially for people who are talented. People who are like some of the best players on the team putting in that extra.
Yeah. As a Bengals fan, I really hope we don't have the top 10 pick, but if we do, then I would love to see Nick Scorton in Cincinnati. That would be something we need. Yeah. What are your? I guess you're an Eagles fan, right?
Yeah, I'm an Eagles.
Okay, all right. So, any players in the NFL that you kind of like you like to watch closely? Not necessarily this year, in general, that you kind of like copied their craft or learned from them, like football wise.
Yeah, I mean, it's not always easy because, well, I like to watch people. I like to watch film. You know what I mean? I actually like to break down and see how people play. So like, there are bigger body receivers that I'll watch, like AJ Brown, who I love watching him play. He plays for my home team, but I like watching him play. But at the same time, when it comes down to more learning, I like to come out and like analyze more people who are my size.
Right, like Julian Edelman. That would be Julian Edelman.
Yeah, I mean Julian. Definitely someone who I've analyzed. Like even he's still 5'10", 5'11". Like he's not, he's or I think he's around that.
Yeah, he's a small Jew.
Yeah, but I'm 5'6", so there's still a pretty big. So like when it comes down to the pool of guys who are wide receivers in the NFL and who are my size, it's a very, very, very small pool. Those are people like Deontay Hardy, Trindon Holiday.
Yeah.
These are some. They're just very, very rare pool of players who are but those are the people that I analyze the most when it comes down to, breaking on film and something I'd want to at least model myself, my play style, whatever it is, after. Because listen, I understand the difference in like physical, just the difference physically.
Yeah.
Whereas like somebody who's my size has to run differently, and play differently, and it just for it to be an advantage. So I would say those are the ones I really analyze the most. I mean, obviously I like to look at players. I like to watch, when I watch the games, I watch the footwork and I watch the releases, and I try as much as I can to work it into what I do. But then again, I also like to watch the defenses, because I mean, it's taken a while. I mean, it's taken like 2 years, but like I've started getting a better grasp on breaking down defenses and coverages and how they move. Never going to say it's perfect. I don't think anybody ever. But I think from where I started to where I am now, there's definitely a big, big jump in just understanding the game.
So we also do a lot of fantasy football on the podcast. I don't know if you play fantasy or not, NFL obviously, but if you can give us like a sneak peek. We spoke about the players on the defense. Are there any players on the offense that you're like, man, this guy is going to be a star in the NFL one day, or this guy, like, give us like a sneak peek who we should be looking at either this year or in the years to come in terms of like, who's going to be a star stand, or in general just an NFL sleeper?
It's a really good question. I mean, listen, I love all my guys in offense.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll be honest with you. I'm not confident enough in my skills at like analyzing players in that way, like a scout would. So I don't really know if I can really offer a perspective because I'm not very educated on what exactly to look for.
Right.
You know, I look, when I'm watching film and I'm looking at the players, I'm looking, at guys who are there already and, the physicals that they had and whatever it is. But I would definitely say I'm far from educated on that. I think there's some great, there's some great guys in our team, great people, but definitely great players, with great work ethic. I don't know though that I can really
Right.
get that
Okay.
answer.
All right. And then two more things maybe. One is, I mean, I was very I thought it was amazing that when I read that I saw that they gave you, I don't know who makes the footballs. Is it Rydell, the helmets? Is it Rydell or one of those companies? But they designed a helmet just for you so that your keeper can fit inside the helmet. Is that
Yeah.
true?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't design they didn't make
Right.
sit down and board. But when you get a Riddell helmet, at least on the higher echelons of the helmets, you get your head scanned. And I wore my yarmulke when I had my head. It's like ski mask on, they scan your head, and so the helmet with the padding inside is customly built for you. So
Right. So it's automatically customly built with a keeper. All right, and then let's just leave us with one last thing. I want to know what you think, for Jewish young men, what would be your message, or in terms of college football or their dreams, and especially religious men who they're more religious baseball players for a reason, because it's just easier to because of the whole Shabbat thing on college football. That's what I think, at least. And what could be your message to them, and even to Israeli football players who those are the people who are going to be listening to this, in terms of their dreams. Slowly I do see every year I see more and more Israeli football players coming to college football, whether it's Division 2 or 3, but it's getting there.
So I would say, know why you're doing it. Have a good purpose for doing it. I think that's the most important thing that you'll ever hear from anyone when it comes to accomplishing anything, is just have a why. Have a good reason. Align your purpose with a higher purpose. Obviously, align it with what God wants from you. And again, I would say, don't give up. Don't give up the Judaism because you think it'll make you successful. I think a lot of times people make that mistake. It's like, oh yeah, I have to give up. I'm going to give up Judaism. I'm going to give up I'm going to give in my observance. That's always just a test. You got to bypass the test in order to reap the bigger rewards.
Yeah.
I mean, there's rewards beyond rewards. You know what I mean? There's, you can see some level of reward in the immediate, but you can't see too much after that, or where life is going to take you at the end of the day. I always say like this, I knew that, I had a feeling even when I was training that, should I do it, that it would be a national story. But I can't say I thought I was going to be on the cover of the New York Times sports section.
Right.
And, I can't say that I knew that some organizations were going to fly me out. I can't say that the amount that have done or that are going to have done. You know what I mean? So you never know where life is going to take you in a year. And there are ups and downs, but you just got to stay true to yourself, stay true to God, and just keep on working. And it'll work out. But you have to have faith that because you really have to. There's only one difference between a believer and a non-believer. And they can be on the same train in the same tunnel, and they may not see the light, but one believes that there is a light and one believes there isn't.
Right.
And sometimes you have to ride the train until you see the light before jumping.
Well, amazing, man. I'm very inspired by just these 40 minutes, and like I said, I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for giving us your time. Good luck this Saturday. Good luck with the rest of the season and with school, obviously. Keep doing what you're doing. It's like I said, it's just really, really inspiring, and I think you're doing an amazing thing. And it's like I said, you're breaking barriers, and it's incredible, man. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate it, brother. Awesome.